Hello and welcome to a filler episode of The Bull. My name is Lester Kiewit.
And I'm Tara Roos.
We're recording these filler episodes because we are away, not together. You're going to Mexico.
Yes, I am.
You'll be in Mexico. So when people are watching this, you are in Mexico.
Yeah,
How
having
nice.
the time of my life.
The time, what's it called? Eating life? Is that what the kids say? Kids used to say, eating life.
No one ever said that.
People said that, and that's why I'm born in. If you have heard "eat life," please leave a message in the comments. So, shorter, filler, super sharp, with hot takes galore, single issue episodes. So we thought we focus in this filler episode by asking the question: Cyril Ramaphosa, is he South Africa's worst president yet? He came in on a ticket of New Dawn, blaming everything on 9 wasted years, a process that he says was going to be of economic reform, economic growth and job creation. That has not happened. He's been hit, and we've been hit by polycrisis. That is everything from crime, transport mafia, water mafia, extortion mafia, threats to national security with allegations of police being infiltrated by organized crime. We have a minister who is on special leave. And Cyril Ramaphosa, despite all his promises, including the futuristic techno city that hasn't materialized, we have to ask, is he a lame duck president at the moment, Tara?
No. I think a lot of people, if you had to ask who is the worst president in South African history, a lot of people would say Jacob Zuma. Controversial opinion. I think that the only correct answer is Kgalema Motlanthe.
And you're basing this is because Kgalema Motlanthe is actually the ultimate pub quiz question in South African politics. If you ask someone how many presidents did South Africa have, they'll go Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa, forgetting Kgalema Motlanthe was our 3rd democratically elected president. Yes, largely seen as this caretaker president, but no, we don't have caretaker presidents in the South African constitution. He was elected by the National Assembly, and he is our country's 3rd elected president, serving 18 months. But what did he do in those 18 months?
He disbanded the Scorpions, and that allowed everything in Jacob Zuma's tenure to come to fruition. Look, every president has their flaws. A lot of people can say Mandela didn't do enough. When you look at Mbeki, he let 300,000 people die during the AIDS crisis. Cyril Ramaphosa has just had failure after failure after failure. But Kgalema Motlanthe knew who Jacob Zuma was. He knew what he was doing. He laid the groundwork for state capture, for what we see as the 9 wasted years. And I don't think we talk about it enough as a nation when, a lot of people don't even know that he was the president of the country, let alone the turmoil that he allowed to come to fruition in South Africa.
But Cyril Ramaphosa, his approval rating is slipping. According to surveys, his approval dropped more than 8 percentage points when there was resurgence of load shedding. It continues to drop with people's confidence and trust within the government. Also under his leadership, he's probably the worst president for the ANC, because for the first time the ANC lost a 50+1% majority in elections, the first time in 30 years. So according to that metric, has he been the worst president for the ANC?
Yes and no. I think has Cyril Ramaphosa not been able to revive the ANC? Absolutely. But he's still the best choice that they have. Without Cyril Ramaphosa at the helm in 2024, I think the ANC would have dropped even lower than before. When we look at, even though there was no clear majority in the National Assembly, everyone could still agree that he was unequivocally the best unifying force for the country. Is Cyril Ramaphosa a phenomenal president? Absolutely not. Is he the best option that we have right now? I would say so. I see no other alternative for South Africa, and I think that speaks at large to the political leadership crisis we have. Who will be Cyril's successor? And I think that's a question that a lot of people in the ANC are struggling to answer themselves now.
But what is best of currently a growth rate of under 1%? It's forecasted to be 1.4% in 2025. Let's be honest. We have something like 800,000 new job seekers who enter the South African labor market every year. We need a growth rate of at least 4%, simply just to accommodate new job seekers. How can you tell us that this is the best that we have? These are the only ideas that we have. Without Cyril Ramaphosa, there'll be worse. What can be worse than already 800,000 new job seekers every year not finding any work?
No job seekers at all. And I understand the frustration of the South African public, and I don't say this as a Cyril Ramaphosa defender. I think, if anything, specifically as a young South African, I look very frowningly upon his tenure as president, and I'm sad. I think 2019 was his era of renewal. Like, we came in, he had this renewed vision for the ANC, and I think a lot of people bought into this idea that, you know, he was this businessman, he was the deputy president, he could see past all Zuma's shenanigans, he was going to do better for the country, and he's ultimately done worse for the country. But when you look at the global economic picture, right, we're on a decline. We're in a recession globally currently. Every single country is dealing with inflation, is dealing with the cost of living crisis. These issues are not necessarily unique to South Africa. Because of the history of South Africa, and we look at unaddressed issues in the past, because of previous presidents, I think it has exacerbated the current economic situation that we find ourselves in. The instability within the GNU is not helping South Africans at large. And yes, is this an ideal situation? Absolutely not. Could we be doing better? 1,000% yes. But could we also be doing worse? Yes.
Does Cyril Ramaphosa have a communications problem? Look, he came on a ticket of Tuma Mina, send me. Tuma Mina was not written for Cyril Ramaphosa. There's a fantastic story about a man called Wonderboy Peters. Wonderboy Peters worked at the time as a speechwriter in the presidency under Jacob Zuma. On that day, 14th of February 2018, that's when Jacob Zuma resigned. Remember, a State of the Nation address had to be postponed that year. And so in that period, Jacob Zuma resides, Cyril Ramaphosa elected as president. There was already a State of the Nation address written, and Tuma Mina was supposed to be for Jacob Zuma. When Cyril Ramaphosa gets the speech, he tweaks it a little, but he goes and delivers the Tuma Mina speech. I think it's a very important speech, and goes down probably after the I Am an African speech by Thabo Mbeki as probably the most known State of the Nation address. But it was a speech not written for Cyril Ramaphosa. And since then, the strategic communications around Cyril Ramaphosa has not aided him. Look at currently the national dialogue. There's been very little strategic communications from the presidency on what exactly the president's plan is.
I don't think that Cyril Ramaphosa has a communications problem. What I think he has is an inherent ANC legacy problem. I fundamentally believe, and I mean, I could be completely wrong about this, I think that at his core, Cyril Ramaphosa is a good person. I think that he is trying to do his best. I think his execution is very poor, but I believe that genuinely at his core, he wants what's best for South Africa, but he does not know how to balance that with internal ANC politics. Any decision that happens in this country would not happen without the NEC and the NWC agreeing on it. And that is a fundamental fact. I think that Cyril Ramaphosa as an individual is a good person. I do not think that he is a good president. I think that he puts the ANC more often than not ahead of the South African public. But in all of that, what is the alternative? Because it's not John Steenhuisen, it's not Julius Malema, it's not even Jacob Zuma. Because if those were the answers, that is where the South African public would have voted. He still got the most votes out of any other leader, and the ANC got the most votes out of any other party in the last election. And yes, we could stand here all day and criticize them, but what I think we rather need to pull our attention to is looking at the party political system as a whole. Because there could be no other different argument made for a John Steenhuisen had he to be president. The DA's FedEx would also, as the party political system is currently structured, also largely make up the decisions that would happen in the executive had the DA held power in this last election. And I think that is what the issue is that when you look at the party political structure and the way in which party politics, I mean, the current case of Senzo Mkhunu is the perfect example of this. The only reason that Senzo Mkhunu has not been dismissed as in his entirety and been fired, rather, he has been put on special leave, is because he has had ties to the CR17 campaign. There isn't dirty money that has come through Senzo Mkhunu's hands that Cyril Ramaphosa didn't know about. He was Cyril Ramaphosa's campaign manager. It is those internal dynamics that has led the country into the state that we are in, because members of the executive prioritize party alliance over the nation, and that is the problem that we have.
And so if you look forward to 2027 and the ANC's national elective conference, Cyril Ramaphosa, while unlikely to run for a third term as ANC president, he would probably want to install someone that maybe speaks to his particular political history. He also has to play the constituency game. You can't be firing ministers who could have some sway and some constituency within the ANC, which means when we get to ANC elective conference, they could be disgruntled with Cyril Ramaphosa and vote against who would probably be his preferred candidate to replace him. Tara Roos, thanks so much. Filler episode for The Bull. Catch us again next week.